it's Kristen, and today I'm really excited for another Charmed video. You know, we all know how, yes, there are similarities and differences between the Charmed reboot and the original series, but I've been doing a bit of detective work, and so today we are going to break down each episode of the Charmed reboot and see what connections or references there are in those episodes to the original Charmed. And let me tell you, there were a lot more than I originally thought, so I hope you guys enjoy. I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and if you like my videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and make sure to drop down in the comments and let me know if you noticed any connections between the reboot and the original show that I might have missed. Alright, let's get into it. Let's start off with the pilot episode. I think the most obvious similarity between the two Charms is that they're about three sisters who find out they're witches. They take on the power of three, save innocents, and defeat bad guys.
You are Charmed ones. The most powerful trio of witches.
Also, funny enough, this series premiered 1 week after the original Charm celebrated its 20th anniversary of its first episode, Something Wicked This Way Comes. Both shows start off with the death of a motherly figure. In the original, it's their grandmother, and in the reboot, it's their mother Marisol. The stories both take place in big manors, where the attic is sort of the home base for their Book of Shadows, and where a lot of spellcasting goes on. Similar to Paige, Macy is a long-lost sister who comes into the picture after a death to complete the power of three.
I think I'm your sister.
There's a big lighting effect when the sisters' powers are activated. In the original, the manor chandelier glows with this magical light, while in the reboot, the lights actually blow a fuse. Just like the youngest sister Phoebe was the first to touch the Book of Shadows in the original series, the youngest sister Maggie is also the first to do so. We even get to see a page referencing Melinda Warren, the founder of the Warren-Halliwell line, in the Vera Book of Shadows. Both series have the girls being guided by a white lighter, although in this reboot, Harry appears earlier in the series than Leo does. Both white lighters orb, although the effect is different. Both Mel and Prue have cop significant others who later learn about magic. We also see both Maggie and Piper struggle dating people who turn out to be evil, and both pilots find the sisters dealing with a mysterious Ouija board. In episode 2, we see the sisters deal with an imposter demon who wants to steal their powers, which is really similar to the demonic sorceress Callie, who appears in the original show, as both demons are associated with mirrors or reflective surfaces. We also see a truth serum being used in this episode. It's meant to see if they can trust Harry, but it's accidentally used on Nico. In the first season of the original, Prue uses a truth spell on Andy to see how he'd react to her being a witch. And in the final season, the spell is converted into a potion by Paige to use on a truck driver who hit her brother-in-law. We also learn that both older sisters, Macy and Prue, know Latin. In episode 3, Harry warns Mel about not being careful when freezing time and the consequences of not replicating the exact situation before unfreezing time. This is a reference to the original Charmed episode Out of Sight, where Piper mistakenly puts her bag on the wrong arm after being tricked by Eric Lohman, who's trying to catch their witchcraft on camera for a story. We see some similarities between Macy and Piper in their feelings that it's not really worth having a relationship as a witch, and in their shared joy of baking and cooking. This episode, we also see Maggie learn a lesson when it comes to using magic for personal gain when she uses glamours for a party. In the original series, Phoebe learns this same lesson when she tries to win the lottery with her power of premonition. While there are elders in both series, they're a little bit different. In the original, Leo always kind of spoke for the elders, whereas in this reboot, we actually get to meet our first elder, Charity, in this episode. And in the reboot, elders are witches, whereas in the original, elders are higher up white lighters, aka guardian angels. We see a scene of Macy in the tub that reminds me of the Dream Sorcerer episode with Prue from the original Charmed. And we meet our first shape-shifting demon, Hunter Kane, in this episode. The first shapeshifter we met in the original was named Marshall. Episode 6 was really exciting because this was the first time we got to see the girls travel back in time. They go back to the 80s. The original sisters did a lot of time traveling, including going back to the 60s and 70s. We know Marisol has the power of premonition and is worried about her yet-to-be-born baby Macy.
I think something's wrong with the baby. Really wrong.
In the original series, Patty actually had 2 premonitions when she was pregnant with Phoebe, whose power is premonition.
What premonition? That's impossible. You don't have premonitions.
Wait, I thought you said Mom's power was to freeze time.
It is. was.
We also see that Marisol's worry about Macy is warranted as she ends up being stillborn. Patty also had pregnancy issues, thinking it was medically impossible for her to have a third child. In episode 7, we get a title reference to the original series episode Out of Sight. This episode we learn that Parker is half demon, similar to Cole Turner. Maggie also has some similarities to Phoebe in that she doesn't really know what her passion is at first, while her sisters are more established, and then both girls go on to study psychology. There's another connection here between Mel and Piper in their careers, as Mel starts working at the local bar The Haunt, and Piper is the owner of a nightclub. We get a pretty blatant reference to the original Charmed in this episode, as the birthing chamber for the cicada demons was located on level P3 of the dating app headquarters. P3 references the power of 3 and was the name of the club that Piper owned.
It's on level P3, but it's a secured area. Not anymore.
We get to see some similarities in Harry and Charity's forbidden romance as Witch and Whitelighter, just like Patty and Sam's and Piper and Leo's. There's also a connection here with Jada, who is very similar to Paige. They're both Witch Whitelighters who were adopted by a new family. And Alistair Kane using Morningstar Biotech to steal the Charmed One's DNA really reminded me of the Charmed episodes with Dr. Curtis Williamson, who wanted to study the girls' DNA for science and accidentally got injected with their powers. In general, the Phoebe Cole, Maggie Parker relationships are really similar, including the fact that both Parker and Cole want to get rid of their demon sides and that they are supposed to be the vessel for the source of all evil. In episode 10, we see the Charmed Ones create a powerful force field to hold back Alistair's fireballs, while in the original series, they once created a force field to protect an elder from Titans when they were transformed into Greek goddesses. This episode is also centered around Tartarus, which the girls call Helcatraz, which is a play on Alcatraz.
Hunter basically dragged Harry down into the Alcatraz of the underworld.
So like Alcatraz.
Not funny, Macy.
And in the original Charmed, Phoebe actually goes to the prison island Alcatraz and meets a ghost. And we see Maggie using a spell to remove the pain and heartbreak that Parker caused her. Leo does something very similar to remove Piper's pain of him leaving. In episode 11, we meet a maestro who enchants mortals into singing the devil's tritone, essentially turning them into sirens. In the original series, we see the sisters go up against a siren who was once a mortal woman who had an affair with a married man. She was punished while the man went free, so she started targeting and killing married couples. And just like how Piper and Leo found letters between Patty and Sam that confirmed their relationship, Macy found letters that confirmed her parents' relationship and revealed that she died and was resurrected as a baby. In the original series, the eldest sister Prue was also the first Charmed one to die. In episode 12, we see Harry's emotional distress makes him unable to use his powers well or orb him and Mel back home. This is really similar to Leo's inability to use his powers in the episode Saving Private Leo. We get another look at the page on Melinda Warren in the Book of Shadows when looking for a wish fulfillment spell in episode 13. Episode 14 is a reference to the original show's episode Chick Flick, in that both Macy's favorite TV show and Phoebe's favorite movie get brought to life. We see characters come out into the real world, and the Charmed Ones get stuck in that show or film. The angel Gideon references Gideon the Elder, who tried to kill Piper and Leo's son Wyatt, fearing that he'd be a threat to the world. This also connects to Charity the Elder killing Marisol to try to stop her from bringing together her daughters as the Charmed Ones, also fearing that it would be a threat to the world. And in this episode, we hear about both Macy and Maggie losing control of their powers during intimate moments with their significant others, just like Piper accidentally freezing Leo their first night together romantically. We're introduced to the Vortex Verbis in this episode, which is similar to the Nexus in the original show. They're both located under the manor and can amplify someone's magical abilities. We also get a Freaky Friday type of moment in both shows. In the reboot, we see Maggie and Mel switch places when Maggie's power is amplified by the Vortex Verbis, and in the original, Paige is working on a potion that backfires and causes her and Phoebe to switch places. This episode also centers around Medusa, who is a character that appears in the Charmed canon novel Let Gorgons Be Gorgons. She shares the story of being a powerful witch with two sisters, but in the original series, Medusa was good and was being used by her evil sisters, who were taking advantage of the fact that she was very unfamiliar with the modern world, and the Halliwells let her live. In this reboot, Medusa was turned into a monster as punishment for being raped by Poseidon, even though it wasn't her fault. Macy sees the truth and is able to help Medusa move on and let go. This also reminded me of the Succubus episode, in that Macy can see from Medusa's perspective, just like Phoebe could see from the Succubus's perspective in the episode She's a Man, Baby, a Man. In episode 16, we see Lucy have drinks with Parker and Maggie, using the word schlinkta as a cheers.
Sláinte.
Oh.
Slancha.
Slancha.
This word was also used by leprechauns in the original show. Episode 17 features Tyler Blackburn as a desire-based demon named Viralis. There was another demon based in desire named Gith in the season 6 episode My Three Witches. We see Harry stripped of his powers by the elders for his relationship to Charity. This is similar to the original series in that Leo was stripped of his powers for helping save Piper from dying of a disease. We also see Jessica Steen, who played Ruth Brody in the season 7 episode Ordinary Witches, appear in this episode as Elder Silver. This is the first actor to cross over from the original to the reboot. In episode 18, we meet a replacement White Lighter for Harry named Tessa, played by Chloe Bridges. This is not the first time that's happened. This is similar to when Leo's White Lighter friend Natalie temporarily takes over as the Charmed One's White Lighter. Unfortunately, both end up dying in the line of duty to protect the Charmed Ones. We see Macy telekinetically stop Galvin's heart to force a parasitic demon out of his body, which was really similar to when Prue had to drive a knife through Piper's heart. In episode 19, the title references the source of all evil, and we also get to see Charity scrying for her sister Fiona in this episode, which was a very commonly used magical element in the original show. We also see a protection ring. In the original show, it was used by the father of the Charmed Ones, Victor Bennett, while the girls defeated a shape-shifting demon. In the reboot, Mel manages to steal this ring from witch hunters and gives it to Nico to keep her safe from magic. In episode 20, the girls discover a secret passage to the basement that houses a magical armory for them, while in the original, the basement was actually a gate to the Nexus, and many big events played out there. When Hunter returns from Tartarus, he's got a power upgrade similar to Cole returning from the demonic wasteland and coming back supercharged. We see a reference to an astral projection spell in this episode when the girls learn that Lucy has ripped a page out of the Book of Shadows.
It's an astral projection spell. I think the book's trying to tell us something.
Astral projection was a pretty iconic magical ability from the original series that projects your consciousness into an astral form. We also see Maggie doodling the triquetra in this episode.
Look. It's pretty good.
Macy takes on the Sacred Flame in this episode, which controls all magic, and she becomes the Source. This is really similar to the comic books where Prue becomes the host of the All. And in episode 22, the finale, we get to see the full power of the Source as Macy loses herself in the Source's influence. The Source was our main big bad in the original show for the first 4 seasons, with Cole taking on its power. Both Macy and Cole rewrite reality to create what they think is their own perfect worlds. We see Macy rewriting it to erase Mel, making her the outside sister, and later erasing herself, while Cole erases Paige from history. This is also the 3rd episode where we get references to deja vu.
Sorry. I just had the most vivid sense of deja vu.
I'm having the strongest sense of deja vu.
Why do I feel I've said precisely that before?
I'm having the strongest deja vu.
This could definitely be a reference to the original Charmed episode Deja Vu All Over Again.
I am having one killer deja vu.
The windstorm that Source Macy creates in the attic in this episode is also really similar to the one with Jeremy in the original show's pilot. And finally, Macy telekinetically closed the door at the end of the season, just like Prue did in the pilot as well as in the 1st and 2nd season finales. This is a reference to the iconic trademark closing door scenes at the end of every single season of the original series. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did looking at the shared references and connections between the Charmed reboot and the original series. If you like this video, you can check out more of my Charmed reviews right over here. I have a full playlist including full season reviews, individual episode reviews, lots of fun stuff. And I would love to know, were there any connections or references to the original show that surprised you? Make sure to leave a comment down below and let me know what they were. See ya!